BDC agents and web agents are the positions that probably require the most CRM use out of any at a dealership. So with that being said, I want you guys to hit the ground running. This video will serve as a beginner's guide for new BDC agents, and for experienced BDC agents, you might also learn a few tips or tricks that'll help you better manage web leads or any opportunity of any kind. Before we get started, of course, leave a like if you like this kind of video. If you have any suggestions for future videos, let us know in the comments below. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this. Now, this video is all about better customer follow-ups. I want to make your day more efficient and easier through Activix. I don't want you to be fighting against the tool or the platform. I want you to be working with it. And we've set up so many things to make the BDC agent's life easier through Activix. I want you guys to be working with Activix, not against it, to get your job done. However, before we get started, I also want to note that I assume you already know how to use Activix, do customer follow-ups, and you know things like what statuses and results are for customer contacts. If you don't, no problem. Hit your initials or your picture in the top right corner, then click training and follow the basic training videos to learn more about how the CRM works. This is specifically for BDC and BDC related tips, but you're still going to need to know the basics if you've never used the CRM. So let's get started. The first notion that I want to talk about is working from customer lists. The most efficient way to work through Activix is by not having to open up every single customer card. Ideally, you should have enough information through either customer lists or your calendar. We'll look at the calendar a little later, but you should have enough information in those two places to be able to work directly in the lists and through the calendar. In the customer lists, you should already have all the info you need to process a customer and do and set follow-ups. For example, the customer's basic information, their vehicle information, the source information, the customer notes, as well as even your next follow-up. Now remember, this section is completely customizable. If you're working from the web leads, you can set up your columns however you so choose. Choose which columns you want to see and work from. That way you're only seeing the information that you need. So start by setting up your columns. Then once that's done, you can work from this list. Another really awesome tip that I strongly recommend is activating the task icons in the customer contact field. So you'll go into my profile and then you'll hit on this checkbox at the bottom right and hit save. Now what this allows you to do is to immediately see all follow-ups that are done, planned, and missed right at a glance, once again from the customer list. If they're light gray, it means they're done. If they're dark gray, it means they're planned. And if they're red, it means they're late. That way you can see, plan, change, do your follow-ups, everything directly from the customer list once again. Two other things that you can add to make your list of customers even more useful is the follow-up column, which allows you to see how many follow-ups that you've done already with a customer, as well as the to-do column, which allows you to see your planned follow-ups, kind of like the task icons that we just set up earlier. Now, the next notion that I'd like to talk to you about is setting up views. Now that we've modified and customized the CRM columns, we can also set these into views and set up all kinds of different views to make our life easier, as to not constantly have to reset our filters. The filters are obviously the bread and butter of seeing the information that you need to see in Activix. Some useful views that you can set up that you might not already know about is, for example, in the contact column, setting up customer awaiting reply. What this does is show you all of your customers that are awaiting a reply, as in they were the last person to send a communication, so they're awaiting a response. By simply using this filter and setting it up into a view, say for example the last 7 days, and calling it customers awaiting response, you'll immediately see all your customers in a list that they were the last person to contact you. Now obviously sometimes customers don't necessarily want to reply back. Maybe they replied to say they bought somewhere else. Well, this list will also help you find customers that should be marked lost. And that's why when setting up this view, I recommend using the active status filter as well. So active customers awaiting reply is a fantastic filter and view to set up. Another amazing view that you can set up in the web lead module is the result pending. Here, you'll see all customers that have never been replied to. Sometimes it's easy to lose track of customers when we're bombarded with emails and calls all day, so having a specific view just for pending leads is really, really useful to go back and check upon every once in a while. So once again, status active, result pending, you'll see all your customers who are awaiting a first response. Obviously, the goal here is to get this list cleared every single time. The last view that I want to talk to you about is the active customers with no follow-ups. This is probably the most powerful tool in Activix. You're going to start by setting the active filter in the status column. Next, we're going to do sold no to obviously display all unsold customers only. And then finally, in the to-do column, we'll set none and not completed. These 3 filters will hit save, and then we'll save this into a view. You can call it whatever you like. I like to call it the money filter because this is all where the money that is sleeping on the table, customers that are unsold, active, and have nothing planned. At Activix, we work in the future. We work proactively on customers. So this is your list of sleeping opportunities, customers that need something done, right? Because technically it doesn't matter if you've done 100 follow-ups. If you have nothing planned in the future, then of course we have money on the table. So whether or not you've done 100 follow-ups or you've done 0, if there's nothing planned in the future, your customers will be in this list. This list will obviously serve to plan future follow-ups for customers who have nothing planned. Once again, read the notes, check the communication history to see if everything's in order to plan a follow-up. You can hit the plus icon next to the task icons in the contact field to immediately set a follow-up right from here. And we'll talk about where these follow-ups end up in just a second. But you can also use this list to find customers who maybe got lost and should have been marked lost or invalid. Maybe you already completed a full sales cycle with another customer and this guy submitted 2 leads and you forgot to mark that one as duplicate. By using this list, you'll have a much easier time finding these stray leads that normally you'd have to go dig to go find. Once again, obviously the name of the game is to plan follow-ups and mark all the leads appropriately. In this section, your list should be optimally at 0. No customers in this list. Okay, so now that we plan follow-ups, is there a good way to do all of these follow-ups in one place? Of course there is. Activix's calendar allows you to do, see, conduct, change all of your follow-ups all in one place. So we'll use the global calendar. If you see too much information in this calendar, you can set the user filter and put your name in that filter so that you could only see your own follow-ups. And of course, you can also save this in a view to keep it, call it My Tasks and Follow-ups. Remember how we set follow-ups for these customers? If you put an accurate description in this follow-up, you'll be able to just mouse over the task directly in the calendar and conduct the follow-up right away. By doing so, you'll mark the follow-up as complete. You'll do the follow-up, obviously, and that'll be counted for your stats and performances for customer communications. But not only that, as soon as you're done your follow-up, the CRM will prompt you with the next step. Well, what is the next step? The next step says, now that you're done this portion or this follow-up, plan the next one right away. So whether it's a customer that didn't answer an email or their phone call, or maybe they did and they planned an appointment, you can plan the next step right away, putting that customer back into the calendar. My favorite thing is once a customer goes into the calendar, they stay into the calendar thanks to the next step feature, without having to flip back and forth from customer card to customer card. So to recap, plan your follow-ups ahead using the active customers with no follow-up. Then go into the calendar every single day and do your follow-ups from the calendar, which will allow you to conduct your follow-ups and plan the next ones right away so that your customers stay in the calendar. All right, now we talked about setting up and doing follow-ups, but let me give you a few tips to make doing follow-ups a lot easier. Number 1, set up and use templates. Whether it's email templates or text templates, doing so will make your life a lot easier and a lot faster. You can completely customize templates with custom attributes to pull information out of the customer card directly and insert it into your emails or text messages instantaneously. By using templates, you'll make short work of all of your customer follow-ups. Now, obviously, I don't recommend replacing every single response with a template, but typically when you're using the same sources with the same forms on your websites and providers, the same type of questions usually end up coming back. So when you can sort of identify those questions and they keep coming back, base your templates on those questions instead, use those templates, and then when responding to customers, just slightly modify them a little bit to more accommodate the customer's questions directly, and you're ready to go. By using templates, you'll be a lot faster, a lot more efficient, and you'll appreciate using the CRM. Now, this next tip depends on your dealership's strategy, but I typically recommend that the best way to reach out to a customer is by using all communication channels. We like to call it the shotgun blast. Call, email, text the customer right away. The customer has basically no choice to answer one of those, typically is SMS or call, and by doing so, you'll maximize your chances at reaching out to the customer every single time. The next best tip that I can offer for BDC agents is using the notes feature all the time. Leave lots and lots of notes. For managers, for sales reps, you're constantly working with other teams and you're the one that's in the CRM the most. So leave notes all the time with every single interaction just to make it easier and more natural, especially if you're an external BDC who sends customers into the dealership. By doing so, the process of transferring the customer over to the dealership will be a lot easier. And if you didn't already know, you can set up a notification group. Let's say for the new car sales division, have all these sales advisors in one group instead of manually clicking their name. You can set that up, or specifically a sales manager or BDC manager can set that up in the account, and it'll make communicating with your teammates a lot easier. All right, the last thing I'd like to talk to you about is the customer page, maximizing efficiency through the page. At the top, you have the summary. The summary is clickable if you didn't already know. You can click in the corresponding section and it'll drop you down to that section. So if you want to look at your latest communications, click on the communications and you'll go right there. Of course, at the top, you have your latest task and appointment set up. If you see a red icon, it means your task is late. You can do and conduct the follow-up directly in the top there. Next to the navigation menu on the left, you have the associated lead panel. This gives you all associated customers or customers with similar information to the lead that you're on in a concise list. You can expand this menu by clicking here, and it's super important to take a look at this list every single time there are associated leads. That's also what that number means in the customer list. If you see a number next to the customer name in the customer list, that's how many leads are associated. While you're in the customer lead, you can click on this icon to see the original customer request as it was sent to us in Activix. Here you can maybe unlock some more information to better process this web lead. So when looking at associated leads, it's super important to see, did they see multiple leads? Maybe they already spoke to somebody at the dealership. Maybe they already previously bought a vehicle at an earlier time. All of this information is readily available in the associated leads menu. If you're working through multiple dealerships at the same time and this icon is clickable, it means that there is another lead in another one of your dealerships that matches the same information. So use that to empower your sales process if they're looking for multiple vehicles in your dealerships in the auto group, for example. Earlier, we talked about working from the customer lists, but if you want to basically take the customer list into the customer page, here, let's say I'm in the no follow-up list and I open up the first customer. I can work from this customer, and then by using the navigation arrows at the bottom of the screen on the right, I'll be able to navigate through all of those customers in that list. It'll basically only display the customers that were previously set in my filters. Finally, in the customer page, you have the opt-out options and the consent options here in the three-dot menu in the top right. Opt-out is really simple. If a customer has said that they don't want to be contacted anymore, you can opt them out by clicking here. It'll then present the options that you can opt them out of, which obviously if it's toggled off, it means they won't be receiving any of those communications anymore, and it won't be possible to communicate with them through those channels any longer. So this is great if a customer says, please stop calling me, I told you to email me, I told you to text me, just go ahead and disable it there. And then specifically for consent, if consent has expired, obviously you won't be able to contact that customer, but we did make a video on consent and managing consent, so I'll leave that in the description down below. And there you have it, a bunch of tips to make managing easier for BDC agents with Activix. I hope you like this kind of video. If you do, hit subscribe, hit like. If you have any suggestions for videos like this, leave them in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one.